What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock, what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to do some in-depth technical analysis and give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow based off the charts are showing and based off the data is suggesting. I'm also going to break down what you should be watching for in the markets, what catalysts are affecting the markets in NIO, and everything you need to know for tomorrow if you are trading NIO, if you are invested in it, and you are interested in learning more about it. Now, before I break anything down, before I get into any more details, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. And not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is any could be a free NIO share. It's a limited time offer, guys. The offer ends in just 2 days, so check it out before they run out. This is your last chance to get those 12 free stocks. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So anyways, looking at NIO, this thing was down about 3.69% for the day on Friday, which is completely fine because on Friday there was not much volume really driving the market. The market was only open for a couple of hours in the US exchanges because of Thanksgiving. And now with that said, the real question is, what is NIO? What is the market going to be doing? Now, I do have some new warnings that came out that make me a little bit cautious for this week. However, at the same time, there are some kind of bullish things at the same time. So what do I believe is going to happen? In short, I do believe there is some room for the market to continue pushing. However, some heavy resistance and supply zones are coming up that should slow things down in my opinion. I'm going to show you exactly why. So looking at NIO first off, pretty flat price pairs ratio, showing that NIO is kind of trading very similar to that of the QQQ, at least over the last couple of days, not really too strong or weak. And then looking at some banks, they are very bullish on NIO. Now, on top of that, NIO is actually green only about 49% of the time on Mondays. And historically, November is actually a more bullish month for NIO, about 50% of the time. NIO tends to be more bullish around like the second hour of the day. It tends to slow down as the day goes on, and then it starts pushing at the end of the day typically. So we have a very interesting stock. It's very similar to the way most EVs move. But what's interesting about NIO is the short interest has been on a decline, which is a sign that this thing was, really pushing up. But there's no guarantee it's going to continue in this trend, right? More shorts could pile in. Now, as far as the SPY goes, you have to remember the fact that the put to call ratios are still kind of high, but I do believe that it's been like this for quite a while, and eventually things can turn, especially because the Fed really wants that to happen. So this time, guys, even if the put to call ratio still remains relatively high, I don't necessarily want you guys to think that this means the market has to hold up completely for the next few weeks. Eventually, we could still see a big reversal despite this correlation. Okay, and then on top of that, you have to remember the fact that the markets are pretty greedy right now, and this is something the Fed does not like. The Fed really wants the markets to reverse, which is why I think a lot of them may be incentivized to be more hawkish. Now, when it comes to NIO and all these EVs, guys, I have some not really the best of news to really share with you. This news is basically about the fact that in China, there are more cases for the virus, and we're seeing more extreme lockdowns leading to protests. People are not happy over there, and this is not good for the USA either. It's not good for our economies, our outputs. There are costs from both ends, and because of this, this may not be the best of effects for many EVs out there. So this is the reason why I'm still a little bit cautious when it comes to NIO now because of this news. But if it wasn't for this news, I would have been a little bit more bullish, and I do believe NIO could make a bullish move, but I'd still be very cautious when this is going on. There are also lots of protests going on over there for lots of these tech companies, and a lot of people in China are going through some very tough economic times. Now, when it comes to the markets, though, I do believe there is potential for us to push up a bit on Monday. There's only one Fed speaker known as Williams. He's coming out. However, on Tuesday, there's not much going on. I think we have PCE coming out pretty soon. But besides that, I think PCE comes out on Thursday. Before that, on Wednesday, you have to remember this, at about 1:30 p.m. Eastern time, we have Jerome Powell coming out, and he's going to be speaking. This is going to be very important. The last time he came out and spoke, People expected him to cause the markets to pump. Instead, the opposite happened, and the market ended up tanking very hard. You have to remember this because the Fed does not like the market pumping the way it is. Now that Powell decided to come out, there's a good chance he might cause a reversal, and I want everyone to be prepared just in case. Once again, he's coming out at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday. Be ready. So, what do I think is going to happen in the markets? Well, you have to remember a couple of very important factors. On the daily on SPY, this thing has been respecting a downtrend. We still are respecting this broadening descending wedge, and we are very close to the top right here. Okay, be very careful when you see this resistance. Do I think SPY could push up a bit more? Yes. I think for tomorrow we're going to get some nice volume. I'm hoping this thing could break above 403. If it does, if the buyers come in, it's very likely we're going to go all the way up to about this 406, 407 zone if you get a clean break. And after that, the market's going to get hit by some strong resistance and start kind of chopping around up here before seeing a potential reversal later on. So be very, very careful. Another sign of this would be from, let me see, the VIX. I'm not too happy about the VIX right now because I mentioned to everyone, like, I could see this thing filling the gap. That's what happened. But remember, the $20 to $19 zone, we see lots of sideways action here, and this thing could bounce pretty soon. Once this thing bounces, it starts pushing up, the market starts coming down. So be very careful with this VIX, guys. It already filled the gap to the downside. I do believe it's going to remain in that 20 to 19 zone for a little bit longer before a big bounce comes. Just like the last time this happened, guys, the market took a big hit in September. I'm sure you guys remember that. Be very, very careful. Now, the dollar index is still pumping a bit. Once again, I do believe this thing could actually base around here. And it's going to trade a little sideways, maybe come a little bit lower. But until then, like I said, once this thing bases, it could get another nice bounce and this thing might start pumping up, once again, causing the market to come down. Now, finally, from the tech side, where's my QQQ? Looking at the QQQ, some heavy resistance is coming, guys. Be very careful. We have resistance around this 293 to 290 zone. If we manage to break it, that would be a good sign for NIO. But we have extremely strong resistance around that 300. Be very careful. I don't see it going like that high, but I want to just put it out there. You have to be very careful at these levels because we could see a big reversal when you least expect it over the next couple of days. For NIO, what does this all mean? Well, the problem with NIO is it's a little bit hard to really predict exactly what it's going to do now because even though the market may push up and that should help NIO push up a bit, my only issue is what's going on in China right now, right? We have these lockdowns, and that's why I'm still very, very cautious. However, what's good about NIO though is remember what the CEO said. He mentioned that expect very high amounts of deliveries for November and December. And with that said, November deliveries, the report's coming out in a couple of days. If they come out and they're very strong, there's a chance NIO might make a big move to the upside. So I'd still be very cautious when playing it, and maybe we end up going for the gap fill. But until then, there is some potential for this thing to trade a little bit sideways. Now, the overall setup though looks pretty nice from a technical standpoint. We have a nice inverse head and shoulders like formation. So I do believe NIO might actually get a pop up tomorrow, but it's not going to be that extreme. I think this thing is going to go to about 10.5, maybe as high as 10.75, then trade a little bit sideways up here. And then depending on what Powell says and how the market reacts, I do think that's going to affect NIO. But if NIO does very well in deliveries, and if this thing does get a positive amount of buyers coming in, this thing could soar all the way up to about almost $12, right? If that happens, this is where NIO has strong resistance. It's possible by December 1st or 2nd if NIO has a very, very strong deliveries report. But like I said before, be very cautious because we don't truly know exactly what's going to happen until it comes out. So until then, for tomorrow, I'm anticipating within the first 2 hours, NIO gets a nice pump to about 10.75 or around there. This thing slows down as time goes on. Then your power hour, if the market pumps, NIO is likely going to get a nice pump to about 10.8 and maybe close somewhat green. Now for Tuesday, however, I'm not as optimistic or not as bullish because I do believe the market's going to see some sideways action. If we do get a pump, that's going to be just fine for NIO. But I do, like I said, I do anticipate some sideways action. And then for Wednesday, that's where things become very serious with Powell speaking. So please be ready. Be ready for these dates, guys. Do what you have to do, and I'll see you guys in the next one. NIO to the moon because the long-term future is still incredibly bright, and peace out.